the middle person, of a person who understands the community she's from, and to bridge those gaps between the Metropolitan Police and the community. And now she has taken the next level. She'd explain more that she is running for MP of Croydon. She's going to break down, because not just the whole of Croydon, there were different parts of Croydon where different people can represent, and she will explain why. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce the one and only Miss Donna Murray-Turner in the building. Glad to have her company.
Hey, well done, Quincy.
How you doing? Was that a good introduction, or was you looking at somebody else?
No, it was outstanding. I'm the only person in the room, so I knew you were talking about me.
Right, first things first. How are you?
I'm all right. It's my birthday today, Quincy.
I was going there next, because after that, how you? So happy birthday to you. It's good. Do you know what? So even though you're 25, do you still celebrate your birthday?
Yeah, man. Of course, because it's. Listen, when you reach this age, people drop out. So the fact that some of us still make it is an exception, right?
That's real talk, you know. These last few years, we've seen mutual friends just drop out. And
That's
we've
right.
seen it worldwide as well. So yeah, so happy birthday. Obviously, you got some Jamaican here, so Earth Strong and all that kind of stuff. You know, Jamaican
Bandy and all those things.
Bandy, everything apart from birthday. Bandy, Earth Strong. Yeah. What have you got planned for birthday?
Today I've got some running around to do, but this evening from 8 o'clock I will be in Yasso, which is our local hotspot just up the road, because it's not far for me to stagger back once I've had 10 and 15 drinks. So I'm going to go down there, and people are invited to just join me if they want.
All right, before we go to what we're actually here to talk about, I actually want to ask you this question. This is quite because I'm a believer in this. When you get presents or you get acknowledged for your birthday, what is the how do you feel more grateful for? Getting a present from your children, parents, I know you're there, or siblings, or best friends? Like, how do you feel when you get a present from those individuals? Which is the present you feel, do you know what?
It's got to be my children, because my children will be the only legacy when I'm no longer here. I was here.
Doesn't matter what it is.
Doesn't just today I just got hugs. And that means the world to me.
Oh, that's good. But your best friend gives you puts you up in the Dorchester for the week, the weekend, the week, and you get a hug.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, any gifts I really appreciate. I'm a very appreciative person. I hope people know that. Small things, phone calls, messages, they mean the world, because people acknowledge you, right?
100%. Being acknowledged, and that hug and that little blessed it goes a long way. It does go a long way.
It means that I'm seen, and to be seen is to be acknowledged, to be loved. Like, I'm one of the most loved people I know. Like, there is nothing, honestly. My community really does check for me. I cannot lie.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Now, I want to start off with we're not going to start straight off with becoming an MP or going for an MP. I want to start off with your journey, because I mentioned that you started off from I met you as a comedian. You know what I mean? And you done this cool, and you went up there. I was hosting the show, and done your thing, and then you were doing odd shows, and then you've gone on from there to host your own shows and stuff like that. So would you say that the comedic element is still in you and has helped you to get to where you are today?
100%. So I'm not like yourself. I'm innately like, I'm a funny person, right? So it's not as if I went to school to learn how to be funny. I think I stayed in Mr. C's class for about 2 hours, because I was like, rah, people have to go to school to be funny. I was just, I didn't realize that some people had to be schooled on it. And when I came up, there was Judy Love, Tanya Moore, a lot of the long-standing. I remember Stamina and Alpo used to tell me, man, you should stick to this because you could go far. You could be the next Felicity Ethnic. But it was just something about what was going on in my own life that transitioned. My eldest son was going to be going to secondary school, and my mum was dying. So we moved in. Those two things happened at the same time. my mum was dying of cancer, and we had to move in to take care of her. We knew we knew that it was going to be fatal. So it was just about, like a ticking clock. But it was important for her that she stayed at home, and it was important for us to surround her with love and care whilst that process, took its toll. But I moved from a very quiet area to where my mum is now. Like, I'm on ends, and these youths was just dying. Like, what? Like, their lives were just being taken through stabbings and all sorts. And I decided that being funny was one thing, but I needed to get involved because I had a child now children in this space, right?
It's right in the mix, yeah.
So, in addition to that, I went to university at 41. Not a lot of people know that. I was, and that changed my mindset. Like, there is higher education, not so much the education, but the reading, the additional critical thinking played a massive part in where I am today. But does comedy play? Comedy in itself is my secret weapon, because whilst people know that I'm funny, it means that when I'm delivering serious messages, if I've got something serious to say, I can always relate to my audience. And I don't even, that is something, that's a gift.
That's right.
Because humor puts people at ease. Humor brings commonality. Humor brings relatability. And often in the spaces that I inhabit, and the subjects I'm known for are not nice, light subjects. I talk about racism and knife crime and the killing of Black children and the genocide that we're seeing on the urban streets of London. None of those things are light subjects. So actually, having a bit of humor, but that doesn't detract from the strength of the message, is really important. So comedy is there with me every single day.
So because the comedy has also played a part, because from doing the circuit and then you came away from it, obviously deal with your mum and your son, you got involved with the police, within your area, and which that led you on and to No Joke with Eddie.
That's right.
I'll tell you the conversation I had with him. He rang me up and he goes, I just saw this woman with these magnificent earrings, massive African earrings, and when she articulated herself in the who is she, Quince? So I'm like, why are you calling me for? Yeah, of all the people that we feel, I know you Black woman, and he goes, yeah, because I know you. Her name's Donna. So how did the No Joke conversation and how did that come about?
He found me on social media. I don't often look at my messenger on Facebook, and he found me and he messaged me to say, wanted to have a further conversation. Well, of course I know who Eddie Nestor is. And so I was like intrigued with what he wanted to speak to me about. And at first it was just, saw you, really impressed by how you put yourself across. Because of course, one of my other secret weapons is I don't look like what I am. And I don't mean that in terms of race. I mean the pink hair, the shaved sides, the earrings, all of that. I know that when I walk into a room, stereotype plays a part, right? So they probably think I'm gonna, not come across in the way that I actually do, and with the knowledge that I actually have, which is it's been my secret weapon, and it's worked to my advantage thus far. So in talking to Eddie, he just congratulated me on the way I represented the community, and just that was it. And then he came back sometime later and said, look, it's lockdown, want to do this thing called No Joke, would like you to be part of it. And I remember the first one, let me give you a joke, the first one I did it at my kitchen table, but behind me was all the cereal boxes because I've got 3 kids. And he was like, no, you have to go and find someone else. His more bougie Black followers were like, what's she doing sitting in front? Like, does she not know who she's with? So all of it has been an education. As you see today, I've got a better background today, but all of it is having the humility to want to learn, right? So if Eddie Nestor, who is this Black British icon, as far as I'm concerned, having watched him, from what was it called, the Real McCoy days and different bits, seeing him at places like Catford and theatre, all of that involvement, for him to say, look, do you want to come on, was massive for me. And it was an opportunity I was not going to waste. So anything I had to do to stay in the runnings, I was prepared to do. So, and I've got a lot of love for him and Lisa. As a couple, I think that, you know, they are themselves. And I think in terms of, if we talk about Black relationships, they're definitely couple goals, because they're real. Both of them are real. Like, I've seen Lisa out when she's just with her people. They don't change when they're together. There's no, oh, I can't, you know. And Eddie's not bougie either. Like, he's real. He's not.
He's too short to be bougie. He's got.
Yeah, probably. But and you know what? He didn't stop there. I've been on BBC Radio London on his show many times.
Yeah.
He introduced me to his producers. So him and Dotun Adebayo, people like that, really giving me the opportunities to share their platforms, to speak the truth.
Yeah, 100. Because you got your own platform on Facebook, which you do as well on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Is it Horlicks?
H&H, but it's called. I named it after Horlicks and Hardo bread, because I was trying to capture the imagination of particularly the Black community. And Hardo bread and Horlicks is something we have before we go to bed, right? Well, traditionally. So I named it H&H. Yeah.
Yeah, it's why our community have diabetes, because of the carbs.
Exactly.
20 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm speaking to Donna Murray-Turner. She is running for MP of Croydon, and not the whole of Croydon. She's going to break down in a moment about that. But what I want to ask you, Donna, you have become a political force within your area, and you are the go-to person that whenever incidents happen, the police will come to you, or the community will come to you. So just what kind of members, first of all, members of the community come to you and what kind of incidences or situations do they have? So it isn't just one particular instance. What kind of things are going on in their lives where they feel comfortable to approach you?
I speak to gang members. I speak to mums. I speak to little old ladies who've lived in the area. Windrush generation individuals who want to talk about how the area has changed. I spend most of my time listening, because if I leave at my house now, it's a bit like I can't go 10 steps without getting a hail up, and somebody wants 2 minutes of your time to say something or to just say, you know what, you give us life. The other day I was in a building and this Black woman approached me. And she's like, are you Donna Murray-Turner? I was like, yeah. She's like, oh my God, she just hugged me. She's like, you don't know how much inspiration you give people like myself when you say your things about parenting. You speak the truth, but you speak it in a way that doesn't make me feel that I can't do it. You inspire me. I've never met this woman in my life, but I spend a great deal of my time listening more than I do talking, because that's how I'm able to say the things that I say, right? It's not often my experience. So sometimes to be genuine, you have to listen to what people tell you. So I spent a great deal of my time listening to young people. They'll be like, yo, auntie, you have 5 pounds? And we are going to do the 5 pounds. And I really feel, we talk about a village, but the way you build a village is by being accessible to the people within it. You know, and I tell people my phone is never off. If it's 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock, whenever it is, if you need me, call me, because that's what it takes to maintain a village. Village don't have 9 to 5. And is it draining? It is. Is it overwhelming at times? It is. But you know what? I think the expression, if not me, who, and if not when, if not now, when. So you do it because people need the support, and without it, people are dying out here. Not just young people, old people, loneliness. It's a real thing. I don't think people understand how lonely some individuals are. Yeah, so, yeah, I do. The community work is not just what people see. I would say that 95% of my work goes in with the phone calls I get from parents. Listen, my child's been excluded. Can you help me go through the paperwork? I've got a meeting and I don't want to go on my own. Can you come? And I'll make the time to go, because it's important that people feel supported, Quince. Like, we might even lose. We're going to go there and they're still going to exclude the child. But at least there was somebody with a bit of, you know what I mean, that questioned them and kind of held their feet to the fire. It's really important for us in poor communities where we don't have the money often to access the support services. Like the services are there, but I'm telling you now, an educational consultant is at least 4 bills a day. That's a lot of money in a cost of living crisis. But I
100.
will give up of my morning and I will go with you because I know what it is. Me not have the 400 pound neither. But what I do have is the knowledge. So if I can use my knowledge to assist my community, then, you know, that's what it's about. It's about serving your community, service. I think a lot of people have forgotten what it is to serve.
You mentioned that it takes a village, and the village needs to look after its own as a collective. In your situation, because the community are going to come to you for assistance, you consider yourself a lone wolf, or have you had to let go and say to yourself, I need a team around me? So it's not just one donor, there are 10 donors. So if I can't make a particular, because I find this a lot with black professionals, because they're good at what they do, everybody channels their energy with them. And it's like nobody, it's like the head barber or the head hairdresser, isn't it? Everybody go to that one person. It's like, no, they can do it as well because we train them up. But do you find yourself as a lone wolf, or have you got that team around you you can delegate and say, could you go to this meeting? Could you attend that particular conference?
I have a team. I started my organization, Another Night of Sisterhood, 8 years ago with a team. And God has been good because I'm still with some of the original members. It's important not to necessarily delegate, but people have different strengths. So if I just give you a breakdown of my team. So I'm good at all of the front-facing stuff. Dion is a whiz education employment because she has her own HR consultancy and she works within that field. So if we come across a parent or an individual that needs help, and often it is us that need the help in terms of jobs, facing issues, then that's her bag. And Yvonne is an absolute, I can't even tell, Yvonne is brilliant at family recovery. I see Yvonne going to, if we get referrals from like really hard to engage families where things are broken down internally, trust and believe, I just sit there and let Yvonne get on with it. So there's always been a team around me. I think what I would say is there is difficulty often in finding people who can keep pace, because this work is not paid, right? Let's just be honest. Let's have it as it really is. It's not paid. And people have different circumstances. Some people join because they feel attracted to the power and they want to know what's going on in people's lives, but they don't want to do the hard part. People are attracted for different reasons. And I think for me, Quince, really and truly, it's been about accepting that I am powerful. Because people are attracted for a whole range of reasons. Some people are, some people want to be with you. Some people want to use what you have. Some people want to enjoy your leverage. So I also am surrounded by a vicious team of gatekeepers. Like my sisters are out there. They don't let certain things get past because we are very much aware as a group that we attract certain elements that are not necessarily productive or positive, but it is what it is. And I always have in the background my brothers. Big up Gwenton, the one Mr. Dean Okai, Leon from Mentivity, David from P4 White. Like I am surrounded. Like when I tell you I'm loved, it is not a joke. Yourself. There are so many people in my life who are there for me, and they just wanna. If they see the Batman signal go up, they're there. So, but it is a space because community space is not regulated, right? It doesn't have an HR to it. I can't go to a boss. So actually, sometimes it even has to come down to road. You just need somebody to say, you need to shut up or you're going to get a slap. Because there have been different elements involved in this. But I am highly blessed and truly favored to have a lot of good people with good hearts and spirits around me, 100%.
I mentioned, got for a break, we're going to continue the conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, I am actually pre-recording this conversation so you can rewatch it at a later time today. I mentioned the fact of the community feel comfortable coming to you because you are from that community. You've probably raved with their parents. You might have had dealings with siblings and stuff like that. So that is an obvious connection. But what I'm interested in as well, you have a great relationship with the police within that community. So what do you think has bridged that gap? Because we are from our backgrounds we didn't have a good relationship with the police. You know what I mean? So what do you think that transition, when did that transition take place where the police, just like the community, feel comfortable to come to you because they feel, I can't handle this, we need someone like Donna to come and not take the reins, but advise us?
I think the transition really came, obviously you do a dance, don't you? This is a whole institution. I think what helped was that I spent 24 years within UK Border Force. So I already have an inside working of how institutions work, the civil service works, because I come from a very heavy civil service background. I understand how enforcement works because during my time, I had several enforcement roles. I was a warranted officer that with powers of arrest, powers of removal from the UK. So all of those things, understanding what it takes to enforce, is not that so much that I empathize with them, but I understand. I have been there when there have been critical instances. And so that working knowledge kind of helped. I think where did the break? I think, I have to be honest and say we had a black borough commander. That was the breaking point for myself. He was black and his parentage was Jamaican, and so there was a lot of commonality. And even though he was a chief superintendent, he could see that what we were doing at ANOS was actually engaging the community, not via email, not we were feeding them. We fed the homeless. Listen, I fed my community every last Friday for 7 years. Every last Friday of the month for 7 years, not funded. And when you come to ANOS, and on a foolish, a sandwich you're getting on, you're gonna get chicken and rice and soup because it's important. If you're asking people to come and share their vulnerabilities so that we can grow together, you have to feed them. You can't just make people turn up and give them a little cold sandwich. So for us, it was important to be culturally competent. And I think he saw that. He saw that we were genuine. This wasn't about self-promotion. It has never been about self-promotion. Quincy, if I could go back to where I was, I would. But I truly see that if I'm not saying these things, if I'm not doing these things, nobody else seems to do it in the same way and get to the people that have no voice. And I think that's important. In our community, in the black community, people like me and you are fine. Our children, relatively fine. But there is a whole another layer that don't have no voice. There are people here that don't have their stay, so they can't participate in civic life in the way that we would. They can't register to drive. They can't register for rent. And people are taking advantage of that. So for me, I think the police could see that it was genuine, because as an institution they are also guarded against people that, especially from our community, they've had a lot of historically black so-called influencers who join up with them and then start to use it for their advantage, right? Start to gatekeep and all these kind of things. And I think they would say, I think if Sir Mark was on this call as well, he would say, Donna's never been that. I've always just wanted to get on and do the work. So yeah, I now sit on his senior management board at New Scotland Yard. In fact, I emailed him yesterday. And that's not about clout, Quince. But you see, if something happens to you or anybody else's you that hears this, and it's gone bad, you need to have access to people you need to have the much needed. We don't want to get caught up in the back and forth, and we need to go straight to the source. And that's what my network is about. It's not about power for Donna. It's so that my community has access to that power, because without it, we suffer in silence, external to the situation. And nobody, because of racism, is really bothered to hear how we feel. And not even just racism, class. You think anybody's listening to anybody poor and white? Anybody's listening to anybody poor and Asian? They don't business. They don't. So for me, it's not just about race. It's about class as well, how working class people are consistently and increasingly so disenfranchised by political systems, by institutions. I mean, to be a young white male is now to be the new black. They now sit beneath the educational attainment of black Caribbean children. So who speaks for them, right? So, it's about,
we could go down that road, because I do believe, and I've got to the point of, when it comes to, there are poor disenfranchised white children. Yeah, there are. But I also would take that upon board. It's like, well, you have messed up your privilege, because you there was a point where I feel that there's an entitlement, because it's like you're the majority, you're going to automatically get, and your hand is out, and so you say, well, don't worry about it, I'm going to get the job anyway, or I'm going to get on in my life. That's what I see around me. I've got white mates who do that. That sounds racist, isn't it? But it's like they've grown up and they know they're going to be good.
All right. So my pushback to that is, when you talk about white, you're talking about white English. When I'm talking about white, I'm talking about some of these emerging communities from Romania, from Albania, that look white to me and you, but actually they are no better off than our parents and grandparents were when they came here from the Caribbean. So whiteness has changed. I'm just going to speak the realist. Whiteness has changed. When you and I think, when we talk about white, we automatically think English. We think of the white people that we grew up with, the Emmas and the Lucys and the Toms, you understand, and the Johns and Matthews. That's changed. You now have people who are economic immigrants who appear to be white, and yes, all right, aesthetically they will have white privilege because they're white, but actually English is not their first language. This is not their culture. They come from different cultural streams. And actually, it's those young people, their parents don't understand the system. They're here in this country. They might appear to be white, but actually it works against them because they're not part of what we typically think of as whiteness. Likewise for blackness. When we think of blackness, we might think, the most we might think is ourselves as Black Caribbeans, yeah, and our cousins, maybe from Nigeria, Ghana, and Sierra Leone. That's all changed now. You've got Angolan communities, people from Cameroon, Portugal, right, Somalian, right. So when we're talking about blackness, you know, we ourselves, some of us, we need to kind of expand our minds to understand what that, because it's no longer, Black Britishness is no longer lovers rock and reggae music. That will always underpin it, most definitely, because we set the trend. But we have emerging, arriving communities who don't have our cultural aspects. You know, whatever else we say, as Caribbeans, pretty much adhere to British cultural levels, right? Because we were colonized, we were enslaved. We've got people that have never really lived that way. So when we talk about black and white, it's slightly more layered than it was when we were young. And it's good to appreciate that whiteness, just because people are white, doesn't mean that they automatically benefit all the way through the systems from that whiteness. If English is not your first language, if you don't know, if you're white and Muslim, I've met people from, you know, the places that end in stan, they look white, but they are Muslim. And so their treatment, systems don't know how to deal with them. So, you know, I just want to add that as a slight pushback to say we've kind of got to expand our minds about what is blackness and what is whiteness. How
you worded that, yeah, it makes sense, because I'm automatically going to assume British white. And I suppose that's another topic and another conversation. So, look, ladies and gentlemen, if you just come back off the FM, I'm talking to Donna Murray-Turner. She is currently running for MP of Croydon. She's going to literally break down what part of Croydon. So let's get down to the crux of it. So you are going to be an MP. Yeah, you've gone through the process.
We speak life into this. We speak life into this. This is the ambition, definitely, yes.
Right. So at that process, you become a councillor for Croydon. What part of Croydon are you looking to represent?
So Croydon East is the area. So I don't know if anybody is really into politics, but a lot of the boundaries have changed across London. So with that change, a fourth space opened up in Croydon. And we already have three representatives, so three regional representatives, Steve Reed, Sarah Jones, and oh my goodness, I can't remember his name. He's a lovely, Chris Phelps is the Conservative for the back end of the South. Sarah was in the middle and Steve had the North. Steve's line has moved. He's going to be taking over parts of Streatham. So he's effectively taking over parts of Lambeth. And as everybody moved up, there became the creation of this fourth space called Croydon East. Now that takes into New Addington, North and South, Shrublands or Shirley North and South, a bit of Wadden, but it comes right up to my own house here, Selhurst. It's a whole swathe of Croydon. And, you know, conversations with other leaders across the borough in community spaces was like, well, we can't have 4 white representatives in a borough that is now majoritatively Black, Asian, and minority ethnic. It just seemed like at odds. Like, why are we having these people talk for us when, as lovely as they all are, they're not going to speak with the realism that somebody from where we are and understands the difficulties. And so we kind of like back and forth. And then I was approached by Charles Gordon from Take the Initiative Party, a small independent party started, and he was like, "D, like, what are you saying?" And I was like, "Oh, because this journey is going to be hard, and I'm going to have to be professional, and I can't swear, and I can't tell people about their blows beat." And I was like, "Oh, but you know what? If not who, if not now, when?" And the people need a voice. People need a voice all over this country right now. You see a lot of independents. You spoke. I met Natalie last week. Yeah, I've been following that lady for a hot minute now, and I think people like herself and myself are sparking conversations around. Well, actually, why have we been conditioned to believe that this thing is just a two-horse race this whole time? Maybe 3 if you take in the Lib Dems. Actually, politics. I think working class communities have been led to believe that politics is not for them. It's something that happens over there by posh people, who've been to Eton and all these places. No, politics is happening in your purse and your wallet. When you get your pay and you pay your bills and you've got far all to go and buy the shopping. Or, the fact that I went to Sainsbury's the other day and 4 big bags of shopping, so they're bags for life, was £249, Quincy. And me never buy no meat. Yeah. That's political, right? That's saying, I don't have a stupid job, but me now I make it. When I see the Virgin Wi-Fi bill and I squint because, well, you know what? That's politics happening right there. And for me, this is a journey of showing and demonstrating to people that, saying, "Oh, I'm not into politics," is actually undermining yourself. Because we're from poor communities. All these policies that they set up in Parliament and make, they're not hurting their friends, it's hurting us. So why would we not have a dog in that fight if we could have one? And so really bringing home the realities of politics, localizing, making it relevant to people, around a whole range of issues. People that are private renters, these Section 21s that have come in now, that you can have your tenancy ended. There's no social housing. People are living in hostels, hotels. Like, what is the UK coming to? And so who speaks for those people, regardless of their race? Who's speaking for private renters? Who's speaking for the man them that are paying £1,900 a month for a 2-bedroom flat because the landlord can? Because the landlord is probably experiencing an increase in his mortgage as well, right? So let me not slate landlords. But who's going to step in and say, what are we doing here? What are we doing here when people from the voluntary sector can't even get decent office space, but yet Croydon is full of a whole heap of empty offices? Who's saying to Sainsbury's and Superdrug and people that have headquarters on my borough, who's saying to them, where's your tax write-off, and can you pay that directly to these community groups that are currently facilitating 28% of services to the borough? Like, who's having that conversation? So for me, I want to stay authentic, Quincy. You understand? I've got people like you in my life that will hold my feet to the fire. This going into Parliament is not for me, Donna. This going into Parliament is for all of us, because somebody somewhere needs to say, hold on a minute, what go on here? This don't make no sense. Why is it that these children are disproportionately excluded from schools, even though local authority guidance says that it should be kept in school, but these academized schools and their business leadership decide to do different? Who's questioning them? Who's saying to these academies on behalf of parents and students, who told you could do this? Who's saying to, I'm working with families with children excluded from as young as 5. Who's saying in Parliament, because I watch, no one's not saying that no question time. You're right, honourable, whatever. Have you noticed the spike in working class children being excluded from as young as 5? Nobody now talk that. So for me, and I know a lot of my sisters, I know a lot of the Black MPs, Dawn Butler, I know them personally, but for me, I'm going to bring a certain realism with the pink hair and the shaved sides. I want to talk what is going on for the people of that area. I think thus far the representation has been lukewarm, which is why we're having terrible outcomes. I think Labour feel that they've been patterned up here in Croydon, and so they're not coming out and representing the interests of the people. So I saw an opportunity and I took it. And To God be the grace. If I win, I'm fully hoping I do, but in any case, this won't be the last time that I'll be running for this, because we need representation. How are we supposed to inspire our young people and ourselves, our own generation, Quince? Like, how are we supposed to inspire if we don't go for these things? It's not about the winning, it's about the taking part and the determination to win and speaking for our people. So I'm all about that. That's what I've been doing for the last 8 years. This is just another level.
Croydon, last time I checked, the council currently bankrupt, and that has come through mismanagement on various routes, so to speak. How is that something that you're going to potentially tackle, the mismanagement of money, which clearly didn't go to the communities which we live in?
I'm definitely going to be arguing against the hike in council tax, because what I don't understand is, under Labour administration, deals were made, business deals with the taxpayers' money. So imagine, it took the people their money, and when they say, and I know these people personally, so when I've questioned them, well, we thought if we could invest and make a difference. You never ask the people whose money it is. When people have bossed them ass, doing a little cleaning job and all these things, for the little money for pay the council tax, nobody never consulted them and said, well, this is what we want to do with your money. They went ahead and did it. Why? Because they were entitled, and they felt that because they were in a leadership position, they could do with people's money what they wanted. Somebody somewhere, and I know that our current mayor and the Conservatives come in and started asking all kind of questions, tried to have the CEO who was part of it, indicted. But for me, somebody has to say, well, hold on a minute. Why is the hike in council tax being paid by the very people who never asked them to make these investments in the first place? It's an age-old colonial thing where they punish the people for the mistakes that they make. And somebody has to call that out. Somebody has to be very definitive. Somebody looks just like me, comes from where I come from. One of my opponents is a young lady who I met last week, a lovely lady, but she's from Merton. I'm not from Merton. I was born here. I was raised here. I'm raising my own children here. These are things that have to be said by somebody who has the authenticity to say them. You can't just, that's like you, Quincy, coming from East London to come and say something about South London. That's rude. You're not from here. So, for me, especially with being bankrupt, I mean, it's having all sorts of implications. Services have been shut, vulnerable adolescents, vulnerable adults. I'm telling you, I don't want to swear on the show, but I'm telling you, it's a proper little hole around here. And so whilst by myself, because remember, I've been independent, so I'm not going to have the big boys. I'm not part of Labour. I won't be part of Conservative. But I want to work with the community, and I want to work with the other parties too. All of this, if you're not Labour, that's got to stop. That's what's led us to this in the first place. You can have your tribe, but sometimes you have to put down your tribe to do a bigger works for the people that live there. This tribalism thing all the time, this is what's leading the country down the pan. Sometimes the work has to be done across all of the parties, across everybody's interests. And that's what I want for Croydon. And I think because I've worked with a lot of these characters before, they know me. So I'm really hoping that my body of work with all of them will encourage them that, you know what, she's not doing this for stripes. She's actually doing it because she wants to make a difference for people in Croydon. The same borough that my children have to traverse to get to school and go to work. My family members. Do you understand? This is not me parachuting from somewhere else to talk about Croydon issues. I am from here. I was born here. 50 years today, I have lived in this borough. So nobody can chat to me about what Croydon needs. And the people that are talking are often people that are not from here. I've got a lot of time for our mayor because, like me, he was born in Croydon, raised here. I've got time for people who are born in the thing and know the thing. Not really into the imposters that like to come in and then want to, schmooze. It's about by Croydon, for Croydon. And that might even be a tagline, Yeah, a bit of for us, by us, definitely.
As you said, there is a lot of stuff to tackle within the borough of Croydon, especially obviously in your part, Sohurst and stuff like that. There has been documented madness going on with killings and young people, and obviously you were privy to the young lady who lost her life on the bus with the family as well. From your perspective, why do you think because now let me rephrase that. I do believe those innocent killings and knife crime are not just done for the sake of someone just wakes up in the morning and do that. I believe throughout the years, this has been policies implemented and policies, areas being deprived financially, stuff being taken away, so people are left destitute, so to speak. I think this is marketed and planned by whoever higher being. So, from your perspective, why do you think that Croydon has turned into at times a madness? Because even on a Friday, as I say, gigging there, doing gigs there. I remember, but I won't say the company, but I used to be sent there on a regular basis to compare a show. Yeah, and this was Main Street. Even Black Show, this was a Main Street show because enough of the comics used to get chased out or they didn't know how to handle them. So there's Quincy, could you? And so a weekend in the Croydon City Centre has got elements of everybody, black, white.
That's right.
The demographics, has it changed? Why is there a madness in Croydon from your perspective?
So Croydon has changed 100%. Croydon has changed. When I was a little girl, we used to have green buses, and people from Brixton used to run us because we had country bus. Yeah, we had. They used to be like, "You're not black, you're from Croydon. You got country bus," because green buses were only ever seen in the country. So Croydon has changed, and we are all the better for it because diversity is a good thing, right? You know, when we were young, there were 3 options on a Friday night if your mum wasn't going to cook: the chippy, kebab, and maybe a Chinese. Now we have a plethora of different food come from different cultures because those people are here. So Croydon is like anywhere else. The diversity of migrants is added to the fabric of life. I think where we have come undone is because the leadership, not even the political leadership, the leadership is so siloed. Like these people are just blinkered. They're most often these senior directors that work within the local authority, these leadership, they're all white and middle class. And there's nothing wrong with being white and middle class. But if you're not having any experiences outside, if you don't know how other people live, there's no professional curiosity. So they're not even interested to see how other people live. And that has an effect. As we said at the start of this conversation, if you're not seen, that means you're not appreciated. If you're not appreciated, you don't feel that you belong. And I think so many communities feel that way. When they look at the television and they see the likes of myself and my colleague Anthony King and others, I know and I've heard people are like, well, that's not the only representation of Croydon. Why are services so wedded to the Black Caribbean community? There are other communities out there and they're not telling any lies. That's the truth. But I feel if you're not seen and heard, it allows 2 things. It allows any kind of harmful practices to not kind of get any support or need. So that's one thing. And secondly, it does create an area of division. Now, if I feel divided from you, anything you say isn't going to have any resonance with me. You can't talk to me if I feel divided from you. Because the first thing I'm going to say is, well, you don't represent my interests. And so the madness that we see is because there's been containment and there's been enforcement. But there hasn't been any safe spaces for those different communities to come and outside of the main, the Asian community with the either it be Hindu or Muslim, the Caribbean community. We've not really devolved to understand that England is a different place, right? Urbanly, I don't think urbanly is the word, but in kind of urban settings, the UK is a different, London is a different place. And so for me, it's about creating those spaces where those people can come. So I've met women from Somalia, it's about making spaces from different Portuguese. And I think where we've not had that, but there is this constant go-to to enforce, people don't feel seen, people don't feel appreciated. They feel that they don't matter. And when people feel that they don't matter and there's no investment of themselves, not money, investment of self. So it's important to me that I keep my drive clean. Why? Because I'm a homeowner and we know things like that affect house prices. If people don't have that same feeling that they belong, if the home that I'm living in is full of black mold and it's from the local authority, if I know that black mold is then affecting the health of me and my children, And I'm ringing up every minute, and I've made complaints, and I've sent the emails, and nothing is done. That's going to affect the way I feel and see myself. It's like I always say, that people talk about young people. But hold on a minute. If my mum's wages ain't making it, and the house where I live that is owned by the local authority is just crap, then it doesn't matter what aspiration I'm supposed to see at school. When I'm home, I can see that there is no aspiration. And nobody's listening to us, because I'm going to say, Mum, there's black mold. And she said, I sent an email and I phoned, and the woman said that nobody's never come. So for me, what Croydon is suffering from is a lack of leadership. More than politics, is leadership. People got roles and people got titles, but they don't have any thought leadership. And they're quite content to sit down on the same foundations that we've always sat on, but expect there to be difference. The move towards making a difference must come from those who say they are leaders, right?
100.
It cannot come from the people. It's got to come from the people who put themselves in positions of leadership. And that's why I've entered Quince, because I know that I've got a different thought about leadership. I want to speak to these communities. I want to speak to these religious leaders. I want them to feel involved. I want them to have I'm going to an event tonight where I'm supposed to meet some of them. Why? Not just for the votes, but actually for the understanding, so that their communities do start to feel invested. And I think that lack of investment is what is blighting the whole country, because people feel, well, I don't belong. You don't really represent me. You're not talking my thing. You don't even come and see me. The only time you come and see me is when you want to vote. And that has to change. We have to engage people all the time. I said this to Labour a long time. Why do you not have like more than your surgeries? Have some coffee mornings. Give the community, pay back, give the community some free breakfast. Do something that makes people feel good about themselves, Quincy, for crying out loud. And I'm not seeing that. And I hope to bring that.
Yeah, 100%. Look, before we wrap up here, I just want to ask you this. How can people vote for you? When is it? And information they can contact you. So
the parliamentary elections hasn't been called yet, because Rishi Sunak's not going to call it anytime now, because the country's in a basket, right? So it's for the Prime Minister to call the parliamentary elections. So until he does that, I'm not really in operational mode. I am still doing what I do normally do, is supporting the community in whatever way. But when he calls that, then I'll go into full-fledged activity, really canvassing. And the way the community can help me is by coming out to campaign with me. I need the numbers. I need and people like you with your social media. So this today is a godsend. I need people that have got platforms to bring me on there. I need people who've got time to come and canvass with me. I need people who might hear this outside of Croydon East. If you've got family in New Addington or Shrublands, say, listen, Donna's going to be on the ticket. She's good people's, vote for her. I need all of that. But the real work will be in the door-to-door door knocking and in the pamphlet dropping. And for that, I need numbers. So if people know me, you can find me on Instagram. My handle is @biggestfood. And we all know it goes down in the DMs. So yeah, please message me if you this is something that you think that you want to kind of take part in. But more importantly, I just need the well wishes. I need the blessings. All the prayer warriors, pray, because this is not self-promotion. This is about bringing something to people. And we know there are systems in place to obfuscate that, to delete that. So more than anything, I just need the will and the power and the prayer and the blessings of the community. If you feel that you can spend a Saturday for a couple of hours and come and help me push 2 things through a door, DM me, man. I'm there for all of it.
Donna, it's a pleasure. No doubt we will talk leading up to the election when Rishi decides that it's the right time. He knows he's on a road to a whooping, so to speak. There isn't a plane with Rwanda-based people going to stop him from whooping. But like I said, we wish you success in it. And lastly, on your Earth Strong, what would you say, your 50 years? What have you learned from your half a century years on this earth?
That life is for living. But you are nothing. You are nothing in this life if you don't have friends and family, and good friends and good family. People, my happiest place is when my house is filled and there's jokes and there's drink and there's food and we're just that's my happiest place. Not the holidays, my happiest place is around my people. And I, there've been some situations, Quince, where I've been there for you, you've been there for me. It's important to have support mechanisms. It's important to have a friend. And, in a world where trust is something that is a limited ingredient these days, because nobody don't trust nobody. I can honestly say being of this generation is a blessing because we bridge both the old and the new. So we know the old ways, but we're also part of this social media kind of phenomenon. And I have to honestly say what my 50 years has taught me is that an individual by himself, by herself, is nothing. It's the people you have around you that mean everything.
All right. And on that note, Donna, thank you very much. I know you're going to have
Thank you, Quince. Mwah.
Take care of yourself, and we'll be in touch, right? Don't rave too hard.
Yeah. I'll try not to. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Donna Murray-Turner. When all the information comes out for her going for the local councillor of Croydon East, we will definitely let you know. And like I said, we're having a couple of weeks off to readjust back into the country, but I will be bringing back politics at some point so we can have these conversations, not just with Donna, but with political people who I strongly believe need to come from the grassroots and the community. And on that note, I'm out. Take it easy. And Extra Time Friday will be next.